Hey everybody, if you're already a current subscriber of mine, then welcome back. If you're not, welcome to ATV Off-Road, a place where we focus on everything off-road, but I tend to lean towards my biggest passion, riding ATVs and side-by-sides. About a year ago, I had the opportunity to ride with the Dirt Tracks crew. We tested out a CFMOTO CForce 1000 ATV. It was the first ATV that I've ridden from CFMOTO. However, I've already owned previous Z-Force platforms, being their sports side-by-side. I already appreciated CFMOTOs, and I was excited to ride their ATV. Since that day, I really liked the CFMOTO CForce 1000, and I kind of felt like it was in my future. My wife also learned that she prefers riding ATVs over the side-by-sides, so it only made sense that we look toward the CForce platform from CFMOTO. Now, since my wife was going to be the primary rider of the unit, we didn't need the 1000, but we really liked the styling of the 1000. So instead, we looked toward another newly designed platform from CFMOTO, being the CForce 600. So now, we've owned the CForce 600 for about a week, but I haven't had a chance to ride it yet. My wife took it for a good ride, and she really likes the machine. Today, it's my turn. I expect this to be a pretty good experience, and I wanted to share the experience with all of you. So since this is such a beautifully designed ATV, let's have a closer look. Okay everybody, this is it. This is my CForce 600 from CFMOTO. This is a 2020. The newer ones, the 2021s, are rolling into the dealerships now. But we bought this about a month ago, and the 2021s weren't on the floor at this time, and I don't think there's a lot of changes anyways between the two, if any at all. Just to tell you a little bit about this one here. So the 600 is actually a 580cc, which is pretty standard marketing. It has 40 horsepower, 36 foot-pounds of torque, liquid cooled, fuel injected, and has a Bosch fuel injection system. As you can see here, CVT transmission, which is a premium transmission. It's usually an aftermarket on most make and models. CFMOTOs come standard with it, which is very, very awesome, and it's also a Canadian company, which is even cooler. So it has electronic power steering. Can't wait to try that out and see. I've never actually owned an ATV with power steering yet, so just recently moved to side-by-sides with it as well. Curious to see how it performs. Hopefully it's tuned pretty well, but more to follow in the test ride coming up. So the display, actually, while we're here, I'll throw her on for you. So pretty large display, lots of information, very easily readable as well. And even in direct sunlight, which you can kind of see the glare because we're kind of in direct sunlight now, very easily readable. I don't know if you saw a little Bluetooth sign pop up. You can see that there. So it actually has a Bluetooth function where it connects to your phone, which is awesome. Just to cycle through some of the details. LED brightness there, so I can change the brightness of the screen. I have 65 kilometers on this. That's after basically one ride, plus me just driving it around the block a bit. 63.6 kilometers. So that's that. Probably put a little bit more on it today. So some other kind of standard features here. Move to the front. You can see this winch comes standard. It's 3,000 pound winch right from the factory, which is awesome as well. One less thing you need to buy and have installed. See the LED lighting, which is even cooler on the back. I love the rear end of this thing. Those LED accent lights make it look really, really sharp. I hope that translates well onto the camera, but really cool looking, almost like some of the Dodge cars you'll see. So really, really like that. I guess while we're here, storage compartment. I guess my wife uses this as her garbage can. Tim Hortons cup. At least we're not leaving it on the trail, I suppose. And then another storage bin right up front here, which is good for, well, I guess gloves, trailer adapters in here, insurance papers. Throw your cell phone in there, stuff like that. Sunglasses maybe. So pretty good storage. Those are both dry storage as well. And then you can see on this side here, we got 12 volt plus USB, double USB port as well, which is pretty cool to have that built in. No need for an extra adapter. And a lot of times those adapters are also another failure point, so pretty cool to have it built right in. Hopefully it will eliminate one failure point, especially when the weather gets there, stuff like that. Snow, rain, things along those lines, mud in between the two connections. So that's pretty cool to see that stock right from the factory. So one very important thing, this doesn't exist on every ATV, but CFMOTO is pretty good with this functionality of their 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, which is manually selectable, and that's awesome. So you can hear it engage here. There's 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, slide this over, and diff lock. So manually selectable diff lock as well. So you'll see the flashing 4-wheel drive diff lock. For the little X in the front tells you diff lock's on. Very cool to have that as a manually selectable function rather than a mechanical option, kind of like my Trail Boss, I guess. I don't mind it so much in my truck, but this is a dedicated off-road vehicle. Very nice for the user to be the one to control which mode it's in. So I think good job CFMOTO on that one. So one very important thing that I took into consideration when I bought this, especially for my wife, was its overall size. You can see it's obviously a little bit longer, you know, as a touring model meant for 2-up riding, but it's not that long. So the wheelbase is really not as long as what you'd see on a lot of the other make and models. So that was a big thing, because my wife, coming from a standard 1-up Sportsman 570, she didn't want to jump right to something that was more or less side-by-side length. So this one doesn't kind of tap into those side-by-side lengths, and not even close when just talking about wheelbase. So it keeps it still nimble, agile, so she can kind of maneuver in and out of some tightly like wood areas, stuff like that. So that was kind of good to see that CFMOTO came out with that over some of the you know, very ridiculously long ATVs at this point. The ground clearance on this could be probably a little bit better at 10.6 inches, which is not bad, but I think a lot of that comes from these 25-inch tires. So my plan is to put 27s on there, which will give us an inch more ground clearance, and I think that would be the sweet spot for this. Fuel tank is sitting at 18 liters, so 4.76 gallons for those in the US. Sorry about the train. So I think that's going to be an appropriate fuel tank for a machine this size, and this power should be fine. And the vehicle weight comes in at 915 pounds. Again, kind of going with my theory of kind of a mid-size ATV. It's not the lightest when you're comparing it with the single, like 1-up ATVs, but for a 2-up ATV, it's not too bad at all, being 900 pounds. So I mentioned the 25-inch tires. These are 12-inch aluminum wheels. Very nice looking wheels. When I probably upgrade the tires to 27s, I'll try to keep those rims, I think, because I kind of like the looks of them. To touch on the suspension, you can see that in here. So you got the double A-arm suspension. Unfortunately, the numbers, if you're going to pay attention to the specs, leave a little bit to be desired. So we got 8.6 inches of travel in the rear, and only 6.7 inches of travel in the front. Now, one thing is that if this is anything like the CFMOTO CForce 1000 I rode with dirt tracks, those numbers don't tell the whole story. So that thing had also some kind of low numbers when you're comparing it with its competitors, but once I got behind the bars, took it for a ride, it didn't translate into the real experience. So what I found is on that machine, it felt appropriate. So I threw that around quite a bit into some deep holes, over some you know, probably driving it a little bit too fast over some obstacles, and it handled everything I threw at it. So I'm hoping that this machine is going to be much the same. If you're comparing specs to specs, it's not so great against some of its competitors, but hopefully once I take it for a test drive, I'll have no more concerns there. But I guess there's only one way to find out, so let's get out there. I'll take it for a little ride. I'll let you guys know kind of how I feel real time. So I'll put my vlogging helmet on, and yeah, I'll let you know my thoughts as I ride it for the very first time. So I'll see you guys out there. All right, here we go. So it's in low range right now. One thing that I did notice right off the bat, even just in the parking lot while I was loading it into my truck from the dealership, low range on this is extremely low, which is, I guess, depending on how you ride, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. So you see the RPM range right now, we're only going 20 kilometers an hour here. So I don't think I would really use low range unless I'm going to be, you know, this speed or slower. Obviously, you know, towing or climbing or whatever else could see its use for low range, but I kind of, based on my first couple little minutes riding this around the parking lot, around the block, when my wife went to ride it, I told her right off the bat it's very different from the side-by-sides, in that on those side-by-sides we could run them 40 kilometers an hour in low range and still be in reasonable rev range. This one here, 20-ish, and you start wringing its neck. So I'm going to switch over to high range now, and we'll see the difference here. Alright, we're in high range. Alright, so here we go. Now we found our spot. High range it is. And one thing I did notice, just even like that, super smooth. Shifting even, so you can see the shift lever here, low, high, park, extremely smooth. Gives you a nice feeling that you're not driving you know, something subpar in terms of quality. It feels very high quality, just even shifting like that. Now on the accelerator, extremely smooth kind of activation, and the power comes on very smooth as well. Now once I get this warmed up a little bit, I'll start to test the acceleration and things like that, but we haven't used this in a couple of weeks, so I just want to ride it a little bit, and then once she's warmed up, we'll see what she's got. I just adjusted my mirrors here, so that's one more thing. I didn't mention it earlier, but there's a couple of more features here that really premium features, and they come completely standard. So these mirrors being one of them, and they're actually excellent mirrors. I like these mirrors much better than I do like the ones on the Z-Force. They're actually very usable, so they're not just there for a show kind of deal, or a technicality to make it road legal in some places. They're actually very usable, and I love having mirrors on my machines, guys. I can't stress that enough. When you're riding as a group, a quick check to make sure your group is still behind you, nobody dropped out, is something really awesome. Another thing are these bark busters. Those of you who ride places like I ride in Northern Ontario, you know that the brush can get thick and your knuckles can get, well, I guess, busted. So these bark busters here, nice feature. Protect your hands, also shield from the wind, which I'm wearing these small little gloves, and the temperature is getting down at this point, so also appreciated. Now, I'm giving you a little bit of review, but I'm still on the road. The trail is coming soon, right around the corner here. Now the brakes feel good. I'm going to test those up some declines as well and see how they work on some hills. Another thing, I didn't use it because I forget about it sometimes, is we actually have signal lights, so you can see the signal right turn coming up onto this little trail area. That's come standard here in Canada on all CFMOTO machines. Outstanding. Another feature that you don't know how much you'll appreciate it until you have it. You know, that comes after I forget to use it, that is, so kind of make me feel like a dummy, but I do like having them. There are some sections that I ride, trailways that cross kind of municipal roads, and it is legal to ride them on the roads. So having those signals means you don't have to do hand signals. So you look super cool, right? You got signal lights, no lame hand signals. All jokes aside, guys, it is a great safety feature, and it lets traffic know what your intent is, because they might not be used to seeing these machines on the road as well. I just do occasional checks on my rear GoPro because I'm not super confident that it's going to stay where I put it. Alright, so how does it feel in the trail? Well, at these speeds, 30 kilometers an hour, not too fast. The trail is not so rough, but it feels excellent. So what I said about the suspension earlier, 100% stands true. It feels a little bit more firm than my Sportsman 570 did, but not in like a lack of travel way, just more like that's just the way it is. It's a little bit more firm riding, not so plush. Very comfortable nonetheless. Alright, so acceleration. Okay, I wasn't super impressed there, to be honest, but we're gonna keep trying. So, the steering on this thing, how does that feel? It feels excellent. It feels, I mean, keep this in mind. The last ATVs I rode have all been non-power steering models. I've never owned a power steering ATV. I have driven them. I've driven a Sportsman 570 with power steering briefly. You know, I find this so far at these low speeds to be excellent, effortless essentially. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that right there. So that's in high from a crawl, applied the throttle, performed very well. I have no issues with that. If that's all this thing has, I'll be satisfied to ride this. It's not a sports machine at the end of the day. So I mean, it's a 600cc and it's a touring model on top of that. I didn't expect it to be, you know, it's not, end of the day, it's not a race machine. So what I just felt there, if that's normal, I'm perfectly okay with owning this thing for sure. For trail rides, to go out and have some fun, to use it maybe ice fishing as well. Now I sold this as my wife's, and I'll call it my wife's, but I think I'm going to probably use this ice fishing this year. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, no, this thing's awesome. That's fun. Little jump maybe. So I don't know if that translated. I just did jump that a little bit, a little hop. That was perfectly comfortable, guys, and actually it hopped really well. Maybe a hidden benefit of having a little bit stiffer suspension, because my Sportsman 570 tend to eat that thing up a little bit. But that did what I wanted it to do. That was actually quite good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now I just cleaned this thing up, one for video, but two because you know, it's nice to have a clean machine, especially when the next time the wife goes to ride it. Unfortunately, I'm getting it a bit dirtier than I kind of expected to right now, so I'll probably have to clean her up again for my wife. And the temperatures are getting pretty cold out here, so the pressure washer should be fun. Now I didn't even think. Now I am going through a little bit of mud in high and two-wheel drive. Honestly, I don't even feel like it slipped. So that's kind of cool. This is a good first ride. I'm having fun, actually. You know, side-by-sides, I learned to actually, I love side-by-sides. I like them typically more than ATVs at this point. But I gotta tell you guys, getting on one of these, like even just right now, I've been out for 5 minutes. Man, I'm having so much fun on this. It's a completely different experience, right? You could say you prefer one over the other, but the fact is they're very different. Alright, let's see who's got a little bit. Oh yeah. No, that power is, there's nothing wrong with this. That's awesome. Oh, GoPro's still there. Sorry guys, I'm not used to the helmet camera as well. I should be trying to be a little bit more still. Okay, while we're in the trails, let's test, we'll test low a little bit. Now, if I were riding some rough trails, I mean, there's nothing wrong with this speed, I guess. The other thing is, my thoughts initially is, when I do throw 27 inches on this, tires, you know, having that extra low gear might actually be pretty good. So, I'll be able to turn them, and I'll probably actually, in theory, end up running a little bit higher, higher speeds in this low gear in the same RPM range. Now, I'm not a mechanic, or I'm not an expert in any way, but that's just kind of my thoughts with my basic understanding of how these work. Yeah, so a little underwhelmed, right? Even in low, when I kind of hammer the throttle, don't get quite the response I was looking for. So my thoughts at this point are, this is a machine that agrees with running in high range in most situations. Now, most manufacturers I see tend to recommend the use of low range as much as possible. I'm not quite sure at this point what CFMOTO recommends for this machine, but I think high is going to be my typical option. Little hill climb though, this will be good probably in low. Yeah, I mean that's nice. This thing handles awesome too. I can pick my line and kind of weave in and out of these. When on a 60-inch side-by-side, you just take what you can get, and that's not even a super wide side-by-side. But in these trails, you notice the difference having a little bit more narrow ATV. Whoa, I don't know if my side-by-side would go under that at this point. Okay, I mean that feels alright. Some people walking down there. This is kind of a high traffic area for pedestrians, so as much as I'd love to fly around these trails right now, not going to do that in case somebody's walking their dog around the corner. Alright, so what else can I tell you about this other than I'm happy? Again, I talked about the feeling of, you know, quality, and I do very much feel that, you know, that high quality kind of polished machine right now. It feels nice, guys. So you guys are watching this possibly because you're interested in buying one, maybe because you own one and you want to see some videos about it. But if you guys are on the fence of buying one, what are your alternatives? Leave them in the comments. Let me see if I can give you some recommendations and my thoughts. I've owned some Sportsman 570s and a Sportsman 450 as well, or I guess it was a 400 back then, but it was like 460 some cc's. Just one second here. Nice, effortless for that hill. Yeah, so I mean, I've driven some mid-size ATVs for quite a while, different makes and models, sometimes for work as well. So if you're on the fence about it and you want some recommendations and you want to see talk about some differences, then leave a comment below. I will respond to you. And if you guys are the other half that actually possibly own one, let me know as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how yours has treated you and what you think about it. And feel free to let the world know if I'm full of it. And if my observations are not consistent with yours, let me know as well. I want to keep this YouTube channel pretty real. I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be transparent always. So again, I welcome you. If your comments, if your observations are different from my own, let everybody know. Alright, so far I've owned two CFMOTO ZForce 500s, one CFMOTO ZForce 1000, and this one here, I have to say, this one feels, for some reason, it just feels like it's a more premium machine. Now, it's a hard thing for me to kind of substantiate what I mean by that. It just feels like it's meant to be, as lame as that kind of sounds. Alright, I'm going to throw it back into high. Oh yeah, I'm going to have to clean this thing. Sorry, GoPro. But I mean the ATV. Alright, back in high. Yeah, that's definitely it. That's the one. It sounds right. There's some people here. I mean, it's pretty cold to be out there enjoying the water. Alright, so I guess we'll try this little hill. Put it back in low. Try the four-wheel drive out, I guess, too. Alright, so it's in four-wheel drive. Some water. bit of a hill climb. Oh yeah, I mean, that's awesome. No problems. And this is gravel as well. So if you guys have seen my channel before, or been paying attention, you've probably seen this area before. This is kind of like my home proving grounds almost. This is a place I come when I just want to go for a short little ride. There's more to it as well. I mean, there's some trails that connect to this, but this is like a, you know, if I have half an hour, I want to go for a little ride, I come down here, ride around, play on some hills, ride some trails. The cool thing is, it's almost like every season, it's a completely different place. I've also come out here on my dual sport motorcycle, again, totally different experience, and on my tracked Kawasaki in the winter, my tracked Kawasaki Terex. Again, completely different experience riding with snowmobiles and stuff at that point. So kind of a cool to have this in your backyard. It's nothing crazy. It's not hundreds of miles of trails, but it's a little bit of everything. Mud, some gravel, climbs, things like that. I don't know what else. You guys just saw it. We're going to carry on. I just want to take the time while I'm here to show you guys another thing that I didn't really talk about, and that's the back seat on this thing. So like, now excuse me because FPV at this point, this back seat is just awesome. I know I did mention it briefly, but I just want to actually show you what it's like for me as a 260-pound male to sit back here. Alright, so I'm going to jump in the back seat. Well, another thing is these nice, sturdy, kind of aggressive foot pegs. So anybody who rides off-road, especially motorcycles, you know that it pays to have those nice aggressive foot pegs. So sitting in the back seat, you can see all this room. All right, tons of room, especially like you know, if it's a guy and a girl, lots of room. If it's two 250-pound males, well, I mean, to each his own, but I guess it would work. But I know, like, on the dealership, my wife sat in the front, I sat back here just to test it. Tons of room. Now, these other things, these handholds, look at this. Perfectly fine. I can lean back and relax. It's actually really, really well. So, big benefit if you're out looking for this kind of ATV, the touring model. You have enough space, even though I talked about the short wheelbase and things along those lines as well. All right, take it out of four-wheel drive. Throw it back in a high. One more whip around, and then we'll get out of here. I mean, yeah, this thing, it just handles awesome. This slow speed, and I'm in high as well, guys, there, so I guess I'll try to climb this hill. This one is going to be a low gear type. And I'll try it in two-wheel drive, see what happens. I'm going to clean you off again. Alright, here we go. See what kind of slippage we get going here. Alright, no issues. Awesome. Love it. Well, you know what, guys? I'm going to save some for the review. I wanted to give my first impressions here. My first impressions are no regrets. For this price that we paid for this, and everything that it comes with, including what I'm sealing up here. Like I said, you got the mirrors, signal lights, bark busters, 12-volt USB. Feels really good. Feels really premium. Power steering comes standard. Winch comes standard. CV Tech CVT transmission. Cool little keys. Friggin' Bluetooth. Awesome readable screen. You know, dry storage here. Dry storage in the back. Great rear seat. For me, perfect size. You might be looking for longer or bigger. This is what I like to ride. And it works good with the rear passenger. Basically, guys, you know, and probably 5 kilometers I just rode, if this was your test drive, I kind of, at this point, I assure you, for the mid-size touring ATV, this CFMOTO CForce 600 is a winner. stay tuned for more, guys. When I go out riding with my wife, she's going to be mostly riding this, but I'm going to probably ride this by myself as well. Stay tuned for more. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, guys, like, check it out, because there's going to be more from this. There's going to be more from the Z-Forces, and lots of off-road to come. So if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. And if you like this review, please, guys, click that like button. Help others see it. Help get the CFMOTO name out there. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time. Alright, I know I said I'll see you next time, but I'm still having fun here. I never rode this little trail before. This is kind of new. Oh, jeez. Cool. I thought that's where this came to. I saw it on the way here, and I was like, huh, I bet you that goes right into that pit. So again, that was all in high, guys, and that was like some steep stuff as well. I like it. Alright, for real this time. I'm on my way back. I'm almost there. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time.